Hidden Antarctic secrets, all is revealed. What they don't want you to know. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Carl Sagan, 1934–1996. The weight of evidence for an extraordinary claim must be proportioned to its strangeness. Pierre-Simon Laplace, 1749–1827. Antarctica is a long way away from where you live, wherever you live. Not many people have been there, it's difficult and expensive to get there, it seems like some sci-fi ice planet place and really exciting. It isn't secret though, just not well known. What goes on there is largely uninteresting to most people and is mainly very technical, complicated scientific stuff that is not easy to understand. All of this contributes to numerous conspiracy theories about UFOs, aliens, Nazi bases, and other forms of woo-woo. With the advent of the internet and especially of access to satellite images on Google Earth, there are plenty of purveyors of snake oil ready to interpret icebergs and other ice patterns and structures for the benefit of the gullible. They are never just natural formations, but clearly alien or at least secret facilities. 1. The Forbidden Sector. No one knows what happens here, no one who has been has ever come back. If you try to take a peek at the border, you are grabbed by security penguins and taken in. 2. The Hole at the Pole. This connects with the hole at the other pole and to the hollow earth and those who live there. 3. The Wall around the hole at the pole. This stops people from the almost South Pole Station from falling in the hole and keeps out immigrants. 4. The almost South Pole Station. Because there's a big hole where the actual pole should be, obs, you can't build a research station there, so instead it's nearby. This means it easy to keep an eye on all the UFOs and other alien technology that comes in and out of the hole. 5. UFO Base. UFO technology was first established in Antarctica at the end of WW2 by the Nazis, who did the obvious thing when they thought they might lose the war and moved to Antarctica to test fly UFOs. They have been doing it ever since, secretly. 75 plus years so far and counting. 6. Visitors Land. The magnetic fields in Antarctica are manipulated to cause compasses to lead everyone to this area wherever they think they are going and think they might be. This prevents anyone finding out about the secrets in Antarctica they don't want you to know about. 7. Visitor Land Barrier. A big plywood barrier painted to look like distant mountains and icebergs that hides the rest of Antarctica behind it. 8. Secret Nazi submarine base. Established at the end of WW2. A tunnel at the ice edge leads to a base built into a giant ice cave hundreds of miles inland so submarines can come and go secretly on clandestine missions. 9. Tropical area. No one would expect an area of tropical weather and rainforest in Antarctica, so that's exactly why one has been established and kept secret well away from prying eyes. You wouldn't guess it was here, would you? Clever, eh? Tap side of nose. 10. The Pyramids of Antarctica. Built by an ancient and powerful race and hidden under the ice. Every now and then one of them pokes out accidentally and photographs are taken, but by the time anyone looks again, the snow is heaped back over it and it disappears from view. Also, some mountains look a bit pyramid-like from some directions. 11. Land of the ancient race of superbeings with big angular heads. Some of them tried to leave many years ago and made it to Easter Island, where their enormous weight made them sink into the ground and a simple common bacterial infection turned them to stone. The bacterium cannot live in Antarctica, so they continue their highly sophisticated secret society under the ice, just occasionally sending out for pizza. Everything referred to on this map is made up, some of it by me, most of it by other people. The most amazing part is that there are people who believe this stuff is real and think there is a conspiracy to keep it all secret from everyone else in the world. There are books on it and of course endless YouTube videos made by Bloke at the Bus Stop Productions, or similar, who don't know what they are looking at and or repeat lies from others or simply make up their own lies. It's really easy. I did it with some of the items above. Often the most compelling evidence for the believers is that they haven't been there to see it for themselves and they probably haven't ever met anyone who has been to Antarctica, therefore the truth is being kept from them. Well, I've never been to Albuquerque and I've never met anyone who has been there, but I do believe it exists. Anyway, now you've met me, sort of, and I've been to Antarctica and I can tell you none of the above stuff is true. I would say that, wouldn't I? Big structures, monsters, rows of tanks, hidden UFOs, crash and takeoff marks, etc. Antarctica is a big, mainly frozen place. The wind blows a lot, it snows, it thaws too sometimes, water expands when it freezes, ice that is over water can crack, making unusual patterns. Google Maps and the like aren't real-time images, but may get updated without notice, showing changes that are actually years apart. There are also things going on in Antarctica that don't get a lot of publicity, and sometimes people can't be bothered to find out what they are, but that doesn't make them secret any more than it is secret that I just had a ham and cheese roll, dough. Now I've given it away. Here's some examples of Google mapping images of Antarctica that were misunderstood either genuinely or deliberately and had fantastical stories made up about them. This stuff gets online and into the printed press. Not a giant buried UFO. This one hit the news in mid-2018, described by some as a buried UFO. The line of objects in the left-hand picture is about 1,400 meters long. Here it's 75 degrees 0 minutes 47 foot s 0 degrees 4 minutes 52.71 e. It is in an area known as Drawning Modland, map right. Since I first put this page up, Google have now added a marker of what is there, so there shouldn't be any further ambiguity. If you put the coordinates into the highest resolution map of Antarctica ever made, REMA, what comes up is not a buried giant UFO, but the location of the German Conan Station, a summer-only research facility opened in 2000. You can't see those things on that map because it is a relief map, whereas the Google image is a satellite picture. No one is trying to keep it secret. If you look elsewhere on the REMA map, there are the positions of other research stations given, but no structures shown, though there are quite comprehensive drop-down information boxes. You see that small rise in the ice at the top? That's a nunatak, the peak of a mountain that projects through the top of the ice. They make great landmarks on the smooth expanse of generally featureless ice and will be one of the reasons the station is where it is, because it makes it easier to find in less than ideal visibility. But that doesn't look like, hang on, I'm going back to count, 22 things on the ice. Maybe it's a hidden UFO after all? Conan Station is resupplied from Neumayer Station, also German, about 757 kilometers away by a convoy of vehicles twice a year. This convoy usually consists of 6 towing vehicles and 17 cargo sledges, that's 23 individual objects. As it is situated on a vast ice plateau, any vehicles, sledges and outside cargo will be arranged in a long line at 90 degrees to the prevailing wind, an arrangement sometimes called a berm. In this way, snowdrifts build up in tails that stretch away from the object, making it relatively easy to dig out any one without needing to clear any of the others. If they were stored closer together, much more snow could build up in and amongst the cargo and vehicles, making finding stuff you knew was around there somewhere much harder to get to. That original satellite picture is of vehicles, sledges and cargo laid out at 90 degrees to the prevailing wind direction, resulting in long wind tails of drifted snow. I suspect one reason that this gained traction in the press, apart from it being the absolutely laziest form of journalism possible and an over-enthusiastic attention-seeking made-up story, is that the station is German and the story appeared in the English-language press. Otherwise, someone would have seen the pictures and said, here, that's not a UFO. That's where our Gunter has gone to in the Antarctic, or similar. It isn't a giant buried UFO, it's a modern German research station. Not a Motte and Bailey castle or evidence of a lost civilization. Here's one from 2017, though it keeps cropping up again as it is rediscovered. This time, the assorted fantasists imagine it is an uncovered Motte and Bailey castle, a design of castle peculiar to 10-13th century Europe. Except here is one apparently in that part of Antarctica directly south of Australia. See it here at 66 degrees 17 foot 10.5 s 100 degree 2907.80. It's about 120 m across, which makes it of the appropriate size range and has 2 sort of circles, though the whole thing appears to be more or less completely flat rather than having any significant raised earthworks, which in part define a Motte and Bailey castle. The mounds of such castles in towns, cities, and in the countryside in Europe are particularly enduring across the centuries, even when all other evidence has gone. Europe has many, many examples of them, from the well-preserved and in-use Windsor Castle in England to a whole range in various states of disrepair, though all with substantial earthworks. But when I think about it, why I am spending any time at all talking about why two very rough concentric circles in Antarctica aren't an example of a medieval structure found on the other side of the world on the flimsiest of evidence. Maybe it's part of a deeper mystery? No, it's just fanciful thought by people who have seen pictures of these two things and drawn a conclusion in the way that if you were a bit unusual, you might think the moon and hamburger were the same thing because they are both circular. Those dark blue patches inside the rings are water above ice. The whole thing is probably a pond or shallow lake that is frozen over during the winter and now it is spring. Warming temperatures and possibly a fall in water level by draining has caused the surface ice to fall and crack in the pattern of two very rough circles. The cracks have allowed some of the remaining underlying water to flow over the top of the ice. Such patterns and movements of ice and water are commonly seen wherever there is standing water with seasonal freezing. This explanation may not be exact as I haven't visited the site at ground level, but it is along the right lines and many similar examples of this phenomena can be found in the colder climates of the world. It is also a lot more accurate than some fanciful 1,000-year-old castle belonging to a far distant culture 800 years before anyone even knew Antarctica existed. It isn't a medieval European castle, it's a pattern in a pond or small lake. Not a monstrous skeleton. A good example of the "I don't know what it is" in my opinion is as good as anyone else's, so I can make up what I want instead of making any effort to find out school of thought. You can see this on Google Maps Street View here. It is the skeleton of either a crab-eater or Weddell seal that died and dried out over a long time period. There are a number of these skeletons in the area known as the dry valleys in Antarctica. They are surprising in that they are up to 40 miles from the sea and at up to 5,000-foot altitude in the mountains. Carbon dating shows that they are often hundreds of years old, the oldest found being 2,600 years old. The environment is extremely cold with strong drying winds, so they are quickly freeze-dried after death, and the lack of disturbance by carrion feeders gives the impression that the carcass is quite recent rather than ancient. They are the remains of seals, probably juveniles, that took a wrong turn to the sea, possibly mistaking the light glint of a distant glacier for the sea and heading that way until exhaustion, cold and starvation brought about their demise. The harsh environment both preserves and then slowly erodes them. The skeleton in the picture could have been where it is in exactly the place the seal died since the 1700s or earlier. More about mummified seals here. It's not the skeleton of a giant monster, it's the very old skeleton of an unfortunate inexperienced seal. Not a ship made of ice by Nazis, aliens, or elites. Ooh, look, that cloud looks a bit like a lion headline, giant lion found in sky. We don't expect to see headlines like this, but we do get a similar thing sometimes by people looking at relatively poor resolution satellite pictures of icebergs. Here's one that was in the news in 2020. Someone found an iceberg that looks a bit like a cruise liner, which it does in a sort of children's toy boat kind of way. You can see this on Google Maps here at 66 degree 54 foot 0.0 inches 163 degree 13 0.0 e. The first thing to say is that as this is a satellite view, the boat would be on its side and in some significant distress. It does provide a nice example of how the sea shapes icebergs and what happens to them as they age and erode though. The berg has fairly recently tipped up due to some combination of differential erosion of the parts that were in and out of the water, and also most probably with some degree of breakup that have contributed to it becoming unbalanced and rolling over through 90 degrees, so what was the horizontal water line is now vertical. The line of windows is characteristic of erosion at the water line by waves over a period where the berg was stable. The rounded bottom of the ship shows smooth ripples caused by erosion beneath the sea surface before the berg turned over, and the more angular funnels and superstructure are characteristic of above-sea erosion. Not an alien base. Here's another perfectly explicable iceberg that has been imagined into an alien base. See it here at 72 degrees 43 minutes 13.5 seconds south, 78 degrees 40 minutes 21.6 seconds west. This iceberg has fairly recently tipped up 90 degrees, and so we are looking at it in a satellite view as it would have been from sea level before it tipped over, with the added ability to see what was underwater. We can tell the tip happened just recently as the smooth formerly below sea regions haven't yet developed angular erosion consistent with being out of the sea for very long. 1. The region that was above water that has been eroded by wind with marks of cracks and fissures as ice fell off. Between 1 and 2 of the wash and splash zone, this part was above the water level but has been washed smooth by waves similar to how waves at a beach wash the sand smooth in front of dunes or cliffs. 2, 3, and 4 former sea level lines where wave action has cut into the ice. This berg has shifted position because pieces will have fallen off and changed the balance, so altering how it floated, leading to successive wave erosion lines and each new sea level line. However it formed this shape and pattern though, it's obviously just a big lump of ice that has drifted up close to a small ice shelf. The connecting part is small pieces of floating brash ice that extend along the front of the shelf. Quite possibly this brash is icy rubble formed when the berg partially broke up, causing it to tip to a new stable position. It's not an alien base, it's a tipped-up iceberg. Not a crashed or hidden UFO. Have these people got nothing better to do with their time? I mean, they spend hours searching vast areas of terrain looking for things they don't understand and then make stuff up about it. Then again, I noticed an alien disguised as a house spying on me the other day, so you can't be too careful. Left picture, you'll see this across the web being described as a crashed or hidden UFO. It's here at 66 degrees 16 minutes 24.1 seconds south, 100 degree 5904.8 inch E. It's a round pool of meltwater sitting above some ice it probably melted from, surrounded by rock. The angle of the picture has it partly obscured by a nearby rock, but there isn't anything deliberately hidden about it. Zoom out a little to see exactly the same shade and texture of further meltwater pools, it's just that this one is a bit hidden and more perfectly circular, so it makes for a better claim. Finally revealed pyramids found beneath Antarctic ice. The land of Antarctica is Earth's southernmost and least populated continent. The Antarctic ice sheet covers an area of almost 15 million square kilometers and contains 30 million cubic kilometers of ice. With this much ice and coldness, no species can survive on the land of Antarctica. Science has found Antarctica to be the land of mysteries. And this seems to be right, because Antarctica has another new mystery for us. What is it this time? Why has this discovery perplexed the scientists? Recently we have discovered that there are pyramids on the land of Antarctica. These pyramids are mountain-shaped and look like those of the pyramids of Giza. The discovery of these pyramids gives rise to many intriguing questions, like how these pyramids were built. Are they made by humans, and how did they get there? Let's go through conspiracy theories that explain the origin of these pyramids. These pyramids of Antarctica were found in 2016 and became the talk of the town. They immediately diverted the attention of people, and many questions popped up in our minds about these pyramids. What do you think built these pyramids, or do you think they were created by nature? The pyramids of Antarctica. Pictures of mountains in the shape of pyramids became a popular topic among us all in 2016. Google Earth revealed these pyramids were in the middle of the Antarctic, which resembles mountains. These buildings were discovered in Antarctica's Ellsworth mountain range. But why are these structures repeatedly called pyramids? What's the reason we compare them with the pyramids? Is there any evidence that these structures are pyramids? Well, these structures are referred to as pyramids because they closely resemble the Giza pyramids in shape. One of these buildings has a base that is 2 kilometers square in each direction and is perfectly square with eye point at the top. They are 4,000 years old and 10 times bigger than the pyramids of Giza. The theory that the structures discovered in Antarctica are Pyramids is supported by the data and the fact that they resemble the Giza pyramids, yet the question of who built these pyramids still stands. Who could be able to build these large pyramids in an icy cold region of Antarctica? Were the pyramids built by an ancient civilization? The pyramids of Antarctica were the only thing people talked about when it was discovered, and many people said they are man-made. The theory came up that these were built by the ancient civilization that once lived there. People have advanced the hypothesis that these mountain-shaped pyramids were constructed by human civilization in Antarctica more than 100 million years ago, long before the planet's first humans appeared. Now, another question takes birth from this assumption: how do people survive the hard conditions in Antarctica? What if we say Antarctica might have been a hot region in ancient times? Would you believe us? The evidence provided by UO supports the ancient civilization theory. Antarctica has moved over millions of years from a place closer to the equator to its current permanently frozen location, what UO, or Earth We Are One, is describing as plate tectonics, which was first proposed as continental drift in the early 1900s and is the fundamental theory of contemporary geology. It has been widely recognized since the 1960s. In reality, the finding of plant fossils in Antarctica by British explorer Robert Falcon Scott during a 1912 trip, which later offered support for the idea, was one of the first indications that Antarctica may have been warmer in the past. Discovery in Lake Vita, Antarctica, supports the ancient civilization theory. Series of expeditions to Antarctica's Lake Vita, which, in the words of UO, discovered unexpected microbial life forms trapped under 65-foot thick sheet of ice that resembled descendants of microbes, provides the last piece of supporting evidence for an ancient civilization capable of building 4,000-foot-tall structures. It is noted that these types of bacteria are found in regions of rainforest or high temperature regimes. Another point to focus on is that we know penguins are the most common bird living in Antarctica, and another thing to note is that penguins resemble animals from a warmer climate because they developed into birds from theropod dinosaurs that lived on an ice-free Earth. Do you believe that there once existed a civilization in Antarctica? Feel free to write your opinions in the comment box. The presence of extraterrestrial life in Antarctica. The discovery of these pyramids found in Antarctica gave hope of finding signs of extraterrestrial life there. Many people assumed that those pyramids could be the work of aliens. Ancient astronaut theories say that extraterrestrials may have lived in Antarctica when it was free of ice, before a disaster caused the Ice Age. Antarctic pyramids as a wireless transmitter for extraterrestrial ships. Michael Sulla, Exopolitics. Political implications of extraterrestrial presence says that one theory is that pyramids are power generators. If these pyramids are strategically placed around the world generating this charge, it is possible to create a general standing wave around the world, which is essentially a wireless transmission of energy. There's been extensive research done on pyramids throughout the world in terms of structure and what they are. It has been hypothesized that advanced extraterrestrial civilizations and ancient ships might travel the planet using this networked wireless energy system, and it makes sense that Antarctica would have pyramids if there were a global pyramid power grid of this kind. Do you think there could be a colony of aliens in the Antarctic? Is there any evidence to back up the alien theory? Well, there's no authentic evidence to support this theory. Whatever has been said is only an assumption and a bunch of speculation. We have failed to find evidence of extraterrestrial life in Antarctica. These pyramids might be man-made, but they were not built by aliens. Did the Egyptians build the pyramids of Antarctica given their resemblance to the pyramids at Giza? Do you think these pyramids could be the product of Egyptian civilization? As previously stated, these pyramids are very similar to the Giza pyramids but are 10 times larger. We already have proof that Pharaoh Khufu of the 4th dynasty's slaves constructed the colossal pyramids of Giza. There is the supposition that Egyptians, who were known for their ability to construct large pyramids, also constructed the pyramids in Antarctica. Despite the almost 13,000 kilometer distance between the pyramids of Giza and the pyramids of Antarctica, Egyptian architecture with its engineering prowess was unique to the Egyptians. They gave it the name Pyramid of Antarctica, or Pyramid Trough, because they had the concept that they were the ones who constructed the Antarctic pyramids. Evidence to verify this theory? There's no evidence to verify the fact that Egyptians once successfully traveled to Antarctica and built the pyramids. It is another assumption with a lack of evidence. Nazi pyramid conspiracy. There are many rumors that Hitler once used Antarctica to hide, and there was also a secret Nazi base in Antarctica. This led to theories that those unexplained pyramids in the Antarctic were made by Nazis for their secret base. Do you think the Nazis were able to make a secret base on the hard ice sheet land of the Antarctic? Let's see what evidence we have in favor of this theory. The proof to back up the Nazis' pyramid theory. According to reports, 2 months after the war's conclusion, a German U-boat docked at an Argentine station in Antarctica. Other senior Nazis are also said to have been transported on this boat, ensuring their security and transporting them to a hidden location near the South Pole. Dr. Colin Summerhays, a marine geologist from the UK, has already refuted this claim in research. The Nazis never chose to establish a station in Antarctica. According to archives from the time, they undoubtedly never even started one. The intended aim in 1939 was to locate a base so Germany could seize a piece of the lucrative whaling industry. There was no association with military preparation, so this theory is also just an assumption. Nature's play. We've gone through all of the conspiracy theories about the pyramids of Antarctica, and none of them have sufficient evidence to make us believe these theories. Who knows, maybe these pyramids are just an act of Mother Nature and are making fools of us. There is a chance due to climate change and other natural aspects, but this gives us the right to make a speculation. What is your reason for the formation of these pyramids in Antarctica? We've covered everything from the moment the Antarctic pyramids became viral through the creation of conspiracy theories. There's no reliable source that can explain why these pyramids exist in Antarctica. It would be hilarious if these pyramids were created as a result of climate change, as science even speculates that they might have been built by aliens or ancient culture, but no one knows who built these pyramids in Antarctica, so we're free to make assumptions. Antarctica has so many unraveling discoveries for us, but we can uncover them with our advanced technology. If you want to be updated on all these mysterious theories, then subscribe to our channel, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and turn on the notification so you won't miss any of our intriguing videos. The Bible's Book of Genesis. In chapter 6 verse 9 begins the story of Noah and the flood, in which God sends a great deluge to rid the earth of sinners and start anew. Different versions of this same story exist in nearly every ancient tradition around the world. Going back 5,000 years, we have sacred texts that tell us there was an antediluvian civilization. There was a great flood, and that there were survivors. The Mesopotamians speak of this in the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Egyptians speak of this in the Edgar creation text. Plato learned from the Egyptians that there was once a civilization called Atlantis that existed 9,000 years before his time. Plato wrote about the lost continent of Atlantis in two of his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, around 360 BC. Historians and researchers have long debated whether this pre-flood civilization was purely mythological or actually existed. Arguments have been made suggesting remnants of Plato's destroyed civilization could be found at the South Pole. I think what happened in Antarctica was that approximately 13,000 years ago, that flourishing civilization that originally came from this space and establishing its presence in Antarctica was flash frozen. We actually have ancient evidence of this in the form of Plato's dialogues. We talks about the last days of Atlantis. That basically is informing us that Atlantis was an extraterrestrial colony that had established itself on Earth, and that after pole shift Atlantis was moved under the ice where the South Pole currently is. As more and more pieces of the puzzle start to come together, might we soon be able to solve the mystery of the Antarctic continent, and if so, just what might we discover? Modern whistleblowers still argue that there is more about Antarctica that is being covered up than we think. Their entire bases down, their entire civilizations, that the world's governments, while working with aliens, they know about the buried artifacts. I know about the ancient civilizations down there, and they know about the extraterrestrial civilizations that continue to operate in Antarctica at the very moment. It's totally possible that Antarctica contains an extraterrestrial home base. On Earth, it's a totally isolated part of the planet. It's completely unhappy. Theodore was until recently. It's an ideal. Antarctica contains between 60 and 90% of the world's fresh water in the form of ice. It may look relatively barren, but don't let its seemingly uniform appearance on top fool you. A dead satellite has now given us clues that something very interesting is hiding underneath. The satellite in question is called the Gravity Field and Steady-State Ocean Circulation Explorer, pronounced GOES for short, because the European Space Agency is cosmopolitan. Like that. This sleek little sports car of a satellite was created to measure and record fluctuations in the Earth's gravitational field and global mean sea level. We then used this data to produce a model of the Earth called the geoid. Hold that thought. We'll come back to that in a second. The GOES satellite completed its mission in 2013, but research teams all over the world have still been piecing together the data ever since its cute little butt burned up in the Earth's atmosphere. Because here's the thing about gravitational field data, it tells us what the Earth is. Like, even the parts of it we can't see. And here's where the geoid comes back in. The geoid is a hypothetical ocean, no tides, no waves, no nothing. In this model, the only things the world's oceans are influenced by are the Earth's gravity and the rotation of the Earth. Since objects with more mass have more gravity, the water of the geoid bunches up in places on Earth where there's greater mass, giving us a model of the Earth that looks a little bit like a misshapen ball. Its funky shape is our map to all the topographical features on Earth. So GOES's mission was really important. The geoid lets us better understand ocean currents, sea level rise, and changes in ice coverage, but it also lets us see inside the Earth. Using 3 pairs of ultrasensitive accelerometers, mounted orthogonally to create what's called a gradiometer, GOES took measurements that allowed one research team to calculate gravity gradients, which allow us to see the size and character of all of the Earth's topography, including what's under Antarctica, the least understood of all the continents. Turns out, it's a patchwork continent, made up of at least 3 different cratons, which are remnant rocky cores of long-lost ancient landmasses. And get this, each craton has geologic similarities to an existing landmass we know and love today.